Hey, welcome to Gold's Garage. So as you can see, we're back at Darrell Waters' Dyno service again today, and this is going to be a little bit different and special for us. A few days ago, I made an introductory video to this one, and it's got lots of response, lots of questions, lots of comments, and some controversy. So we're going to answer all that today, and I appreciate all the input and questions I'm getting from subscribers. I'm learning from you guys too. You never stop learning. So what we're going to do is start this engine up and dyno it, get the fuel and air, get the timing right, optimize the tune, and we're going to shut it down and we're going to advance the cam 4 degrees. And the question is it going to help to advance the cam 4 degrees? And I posed that question on the introductory video and got lots of response. So we're going to find out today. So first of all, this is a 400 cubic inch engine that I built for a customer, Pete DeMello, and it's got a real strong rotating assembly. It's got an Eagle crankshaft, Keith Black pistons, and if you want to spin this thing to 7,000 RPM and make 500 horsepower, it's happy to go there, but we're not going to do that. Pete has a square body 1985 Chev truck with an automatic transmission and a standard ratio rear end. So the camshaft I'm using is a Comp 268H flat tappet camshaft. So as I said, it's 224 on the intake, 230 on the exhaust, 477 and 480 lift. So not a big cam for a 400 cubic inch engine. However, my criteria is always drivability, low range torque, throttle response, and all that stuff. And so I think this is a good cam for a pickup truck with an automatic transmission. So we'll see how much power it makes, and then we're going to find out if it helps to advance the cam. So to do that, we're going to advance the cam on the dyno. So I got through my good buddies helping me today, Tom Winkler and Alec Vendrig. And it's going to be a 3-man job. And for what it's worth, on the introduction video, I got response, which has changed my plan. I was planning to back off all the valve springs, valve lifters, rocker arms in order to turn the cam. And I found out from a subscriber that you could probably do that by just rotating the crankshaft. And if that works, we're going to save a lot of time. So we got a what I call a critical path schedule made out with all the parts and tools that we need for the process. That's our parts and tools that we're ready to go. And everything's there to take the valve covers off and reset the valve lash, but we're not going to have to do that, hopefully. So let's see what happens. We're going to make a pull on the dyno. We're going to get this thing, find out where it is on. Right now the camshaft is on a 106 center line, and so this cam is what they say got 4 degrees ground into the camshaft. So the lobe separation angle is 110. Subtract 106, so it's already got 4 degrees of advanced ground into it. When we advance it, it's going to be at a 102 center line. It'll basically have 108 degrees of advance. Is that going to help? What I think it's going to do is lower the torque where the maximum torque is achieved. We're going to try and make a pull starting at 2,500 RPM to measure that torque. And the criteria is going to be what gives us the best average power over the cycle. Dyno Darrell made a discussion about this on a previous video. Peak torque, peak horsepower is for bragging rights. Average horsepower and average torque is what's more important. So if it makes better average horsepower and torque with the cam advance, we'll leave it there. If it doesn't, we'll move it back where it started. So let's get going, make some pulls, get as much as we can with the cam on the 106 center line and see what happens. Okay, we got a couple pulls on it. We got a little over 400 horsepower. like to get a little more than that. We started with 37 degrees of timing. That's just where it was when I brought it here. It's on my test stand at home. So we're going to move the timing back to about 34 degrees and see if that helps. So let's go and do that. Need a Sharpie. Okay, let's see what happens. Right on. So didn't like that. We lost about 10 horsepower by going from 37 to 34 degrees. So we're going to go back up and try 38 degrees and see what happens here. Got to move it more. I didn't go far enough. plug looks pretty good to me, but Daryl's the expert. We're going to let him look at it under his little microscope there and see what he has to say.
So we're comparing the spark plug to what our readings are on the dyno sheets as far as mixture waste goes. You can check timing on spark plugs by the side electrode. If it starts to turn purple, you know you got way too much timing. A lot of people make a mistake of looking at a spark plug and going, oh, it looks like it's really rich, but that's not where you read it. Where the porcelain meets the steel down, way down inside, you look down in the bottom and you look for a nice tan color, even though the rest of it looks black. And then look down to the bottom there, and this one is a light tan color. So we probably are a little bit lean, which does coincide with our air-fuel ratio numbers on the dyno Primo. So looking at the fuel A and fuel B, the average 75 in the front, 70 in the back. So to richen the engine up, we're going to richen up the back because the front's using more fuel than the back is. So we're going to try and get those two the same. That gets even fuel distribution through the engine, and we should get more horsepower.
Okay, we're back again. So as I already mentioned, we've actually made a number of pulls with this 400 small block already, and the main theme of this video is changing cam timing while we're still on the dyno. And we're going to do that starting right now, and we're going to put a timer on us when we get started, once we say go. But I got to make a real important point. What my plan was, and I described it in the last video, was to, once I get at the timing gear, which we have to take the front pulley off, take the water pump off, take the little cover off, and you'll see that as we get going. And my plan was to back off, take the valve covers off, and back off all the valve springs. And a subscriber, viewer named Mark McMullen made a suggestion that you don't have to do that. You can just turn the crankshaft backwards as you turn the little cam on the Chloe's cam gear. So we're going to try and do it that way, and if it works, it's going to save us a lot of work and save us having to do the valves again. Just while we're at it, so one of the standard ways of changing timing would require, if you didn't have a removable cover like this, dropping the oil pan, pulling the front cover off, pulling the bottom gear off, take the timing chain off, pull the top bottom gear, and rotate the bottom gear. So Chloe's and other manufacturers make bottom gears, some with 3 settings, plus and minus 4 degrees, and some of them make them with like 12 settings, where you can go plus or minus 6 or 8 or more degrees. So typically, if you didn't have a Chloe's adjustable gear, you'd have to pull that gear off, know where your timing is, rotate it, put it back on, and put your oil pan back on, put your cover back on, all that stuff. So we're going to save a lot of that because of using the Chloe's and a cover that's removable. So we're going to get started, move these pulleys, move the harmonic balancer, the water pump comes off, get that little cover off, and we're going to try and retard the timing gear. So Alex is going to keep track of the timing. He's got a stopwatch going. We're not going to go crazy here. It's not a pit stop, but we just want to work effectively and show that we can do this. We've got our tool tray all set up with all the parts and tools that we're going to need to do this job. And we're just going to try and work effectively and get it running within, I said an hour when I made the introductory video. We'll see what happens. So ready, set, let's go. Take that guy out of there. Has to come off. I got the right sockets. Oh, I need an extension. Somebody give me an extension. So what we didn't consider, I thought I had all the right tools, and even though we planned this job, we thought we planned it, we missed the 1/2-inch drive extension, and I can't get at that water pump without it. So now I can. We're hoping the water pump gaskets are okay. I did not use any sealant on the on this side of the water pump gaskets when I put the water pump on. If they aren't okay, we're going to lose some water here, I guess. I don't know how much we're going to lose. You said drain down to the water pump. There we go.
Not much at all. Just sit in the water pump. Okay.
We'll use the gasket. Okay, put the water pump here. I don't need gloves now. So the harmonic balancer has to come off far enough to get at. There's 4 bolts that take this little cover off, which is just a little Allen wrench, but the harmonic balancer has to come off in order to enable us to do that. So make sure I got this lined up. There we go. There we go. Yeah, there we go. I need a small impact with the 9/16 on it next. As you see, there's 4 bolts on this inspection plate, and you cannot get at the bottom one without taking the harmonic balancer off. Need a 5/8. I think I can get at it now, eh? Okay, we took the balancer right off. I was kind of hoping we wouldn't have to take it right off, but it's off, and it's a good thing I brought metric Allen wrenches, because where do you think this guy came from, right? If it's metric. But who cares right now, as long as it gets the cover up. I'm going to need a flat screwdriver. Everything down. Pry that off. When I assembled this engine, I never even sort of mocked up trying to take this plate off, so I've never used this setup before, so I don't have experience with it. So we'll have to see how hard it is to come off. Hopefully it comes off. There we go. You need a 1/2-inch socket now, guys, on the ratchet. 1/2-inch socket on the ratchet. So we got access, we got a little cover plate off. Now we can see the 3 cam bolts. And if you look closely, you can see the Cloy's hex adjusts. And that's where I installed it, right on the center line. You can see that. So we're going to try and advance the cam or retard the crankshaft, which is the same thing. So first thing we got to do is get these bolts loose. They're Loctited with blue Loctite, so when we put it back, we're going to have to Loctite them again with blue Loctite. We'll do that. I think this will work. So we need to be able to turn the crankshaft backwards, which is a problem because we need to get it tight enough to turn against compression. The spark plugs are in this engine.
Are you going to move the whole thing?
What's that?
Are you going to move it?
It's going to get it tight first.
Yeah.
Now let's just see if the engine moves. Where's the 1/2-inch drive ratchet? Just see if the engine will go backwards without loosening it. It's loosening it a bit. I got to tighten it more. So I need to tighten it more. Let me do that then first. Now it should be enough. Okay. So I need that 1/4-inch Allen wrench. That guy right there. So we're going to do this based on Mark's advice. And I talked to Daryl about this. Dyno Daryl, I should have asked him in the first place. He says you can turn the crankshaft backwards as you turn this, and we'll show. It's the wrong size. I grabbed the wrong size. The next biggest one, guys. Next smallest one should be the 1/4-inch one. Yes. Is that it? Maybe that's it. What's going on? I had the right size. Okay. Okay, so Tom's going to try and turn the crankshaft backwards while I follow him with the hex adjust. Backwards, Tom. Backwards, Tom. There we go. How much have we got? We need a light in here. I've got it moved. I'm just going to double check the chart to see where that is on the chart. Where's that? Should have kept this out here, eh? So thanks, Mark. That was great advice. You just saved us taking off the valve covers, backing off the valve springs, all that stuff. So Tom turned the crankshaft backwards. I turned the Cloy's hex adjust cam backwards, and we're now at 4 degrees advance, and we're ready to put it back together. So what we need to do is take one bolt out at a time. I need that blue Loctite next. I'm going to take one out at a time. Give me a paper towel, please. A little bit of paper towel, just a little bit. Take that back. I'm going to need the torque wrench next.
Torque wrench? We need to set up.
20. I haven't used Loctite much. Blue is for stuff that's going to come apart again. Red is for stuff that you don't think you're ever going to take apart again for a long time anyway. So red is kind of known as a permanent Loctite. So number 3. Okay, take that back. Drop anything. £20 is not a lot. So let's take a last screenshot of where we're at, just to make sure we know what we did here. Up close. So when we started, when I put this cam in, I was on the center line. I actually marked it with a magic marker. And now it's advanced 3 degrees. You see the advanced side, retarded side? Actually, it was at 105.5, not 106. So one thing this video is going to show, lots of times when I've degreed a cam in, I've agonized over getting the last half degree. So if we move it 4 degrees and it doesn't make any difference, what does that tell you? You don't have to worry about it that much, right? So we're done. That's done. Put the cover back on. So you got to remember that. Millimeters. I did not know that until we got it apart. I brought millimeter Allen wrenches just in case. So now we got to get this guy back off. The balancer back on. I got an oil can there. A little bit of oil on the shaft always helps. We were not anticipating water coming out when we took the water pump off, so that's why we got a little bit of a water mess, but that's okay. Installer. It's there. I grab it.
Oh, it's right here.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, that can leaks, Alex, if it's tipped over, so. Yeah, you don't want to be stripping the thread right now.
When you break off the thing in the crank snap.
Oh, I know. I've had that happen. Eh? I think I had it happen with your
Cool.
tool, actually. Still going.
As far as you can go. Till it stops.
I think we got lots of thread now.
There you go.
Went on pretty good. We also didn't have to worry about setting the timing at number 1 before we started because we didn't have to adjust the valves, so that saved another process. Thanks, Mark. You can tell when this comes to an end, it tells you. Getting close. There we go. Oh, we gotta back it off, Tom. Water pump next. You know what? The other, it's here, Tom. It'll be okay.
One is there.
Yeah. If it leaks, I'll change it on Monday. But we'll get away with it. Let's get them started. We're running the 9/16 for that small impact. For the small impact, yes. Where's the other bolt, Tom?
Like, it's in here.
No, I need one here. I need one here. It's got to be down there someplace. Let's get all this stuff out of here. Take everything out of here we don't need. Sorry.
You found the bolt? There it is. Right here.
There we go. All right. Gonna need a torque wrench again. Extension. I guess I have an extension here. Thank you, sir. Go to 25. Okay, yeah, hang on to that. Okay, we just got to close off. First of all, Alec had the stopwatch going. There it is. And I got to thank a subscriber, Mark McMillan, for the suggestion. 24 hours ago, I was planning to back all the valves off in order to turn the camshaft. And if you were doing this, putting an engine together on its stand, and you didn't have everything assembled already, that would be fine. But Mark suggested you can just turn the crankshaft backwards, and that's exactly what we did. It was very easy to do. We are now 4 degrees advance, and since then we've actually checked the timing, and naturally we moved the camshaft so the timing's off. So we're actually at 43 degrees of timing now, so I'm going to move it back to, it worked better at 39 before. It might work better somewhere else now with the, so what we've done by advancing the cam, we're closing that intake valve 4 degrees earlier at 57 degrees instead of 61. That should build a little compression pressure. Typically, I would expect it would want a little less timing. We'll find out. Let's get it done. So for what it's worth, on the Chevrolet, because the distributor turns this way, to advance the timing, you rotate the distributor counterclockwise. To retard the timing, you rotate the distributor clockwise. Okay, welcome back to Gold's Garage. So we're going to wrap it up here. And Daryl and I, if you watched my videos before, Daryl Waters, we call him Dyno Daryl. Daryl's been doing dynos for 30 years, so he's got lots of experience. He's dynoed engines up to 1,000 horsepower. And so I'm going to introduce this subject, and I'm going to let Daryl make some comments because we ran into some stuff here that frankly we didn't expect. So we have the dyno results, but first I got to show you. Daryl's a big Mopar guy. You've seen my recent video of Daryl with his 62 Max Wedge car, and so I got to show you. I'm actually sitting on a Dodge stool. Isn't that cool, right? Yeah. So usually it's my Chevrolet stool. So yeah, Daryl's my Canadian version of Steve Brule. So
I was worried he was going to fall off the Dodge stool.
No, we're good. Yeah, we're good. So there's our dyno sheet and chart, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more. I'm going to hand it to Daryl in a minute. But there's 3 or 4 questions that we have to answer. The reason we did this video. One was, does it help to advance a cam that's already got 4 degrees of advance ground into it? And how fast can you do that on the dyno? How to change the cam timing? And I learned a lot. I'm learning from my subscribers. And so the plan was, when we started yesterday, as of yesterday, I was planning to back off all the rocker arms in order to move the cam. And I've already mentioned his name, Mark, made a suggestion on my channel that you don't have to do that. You can just turn the crankshaft the other way. We did that, and it took only a couple of minutes, and it saved us a lot. And we did the whole thing start to stop in how many minutes? 25. 25 minutes. So would have been, I estimated an hour, and if I would have had to adjust the valves, it would have probably taken a lot closer to an hour anyway. So that's in the video. Stumbled a little bit, fumbled a little bit, but we got the job done. And so, answer to the first question: should you advance a cam that's already got 4 degrees of advance ground into it? The results show that you're better off to leave it where it is. And I had subscribers on my channel tell me that it's probably not going to help, and they were right. The other answer is, doesn't make much difference. The difference between the average, which I said would be the important factor, the average horsepower and torque over the cycle, whatever gave the best, because that's going to give my customer Pete DeMello the best driving experience, only varied by 2 horsepower and 2 foot-pounds of torque. So 442 average torque with the 106 centerline, and 440 the 102 centerline when I advance it. So, and 355 horsepower versus 353. So the real answer is, if you're putting your cam in and you put it on the centerline, you're probably pretty good. So I'm going to turn it over to Daryl to talk about, he had some comments because this is something, even with his 30 years of experience, he hasn't run into. And go ahead, Daryl, give us your...
Well, I've been doing it for, like Alan said, for quite a while. But we never really did a back-to-back test and showed what the results would be by changing the cam timing. I was always taught through my dad drag raced and my grandfather raced and stuff about where you degree the cam in changes the operating range of the engine. Well, today when we did the dyno test, it showed that the peak horsepower and the peak torque were in exactly the same RPM range. We're at the same point, which all of us were like, that's weird because it should have changed it. That's what we were always taught. But today we found out it didn't change it at all. It made the peak torque, peak horsepower at the same spot. But we did make, the peak numbers were a little bigger on the torque at 102, I believe, wasn't it? Yeah, we were 446, or 466, sorry, at 102, and 462.
462.
But it did hurt the horsepower, so advancing it really, in this particular application, it may work differently in other ones because there's so many different combinations of engines, you can't really put this as saying it's gospel, because there's so many different ways you can put an engine together with different combinations, camshafts, carburetors, headers, it all affects everything on it. But for this particular engine, we were quite surprised at the results. So I thought it was kind of neat that we did that, and it turned out pretty good. I learned something too, and even after all these years.
We're all learning. I'm learning from my subscribers a lot, and that's one benefit of, I call this reality YouTube, because it is what it is, and we're going to explain that. So here's the horsepower and torque curve, and Daryl has been nice enough to color code the 106 center line. As you can see there, he's marked the
that's the 102.
102 center line, torque and horsepower, and the 106 center line, torque and horsepower. So just for what it's worth, we started at 106, and when I get it back home tomorrow or Monday, I'm putting it back to 106, because it didn't hurt much. The real answer is it doesn't make much difference, but it was a little bit better at 106, so it's going back there. But here's the real reason. Now, I said this before. The bottom end of this engine's got an Eagle crankshaft, KB pistons, good rotating assembly that can easily go 7,000 RPM and make 500 horsepower. But the cam that I used is a relatively mild cam for that application, and here's the reason. It's going in a full-size truck that weighs probably 4,000 pounds. So one of the criteria is 10 pounds of car per cubic inch of engine. So that's right on the numbers. Okay. The other thing is overall gear ratio. It's an automatic transmission with the standard ratio we're in. I like that to be 10 also, and it's not. It's probably something like 8.5. This first gear in a 350 hydro is probably 252 or something like that. Times 308, do the math. Okay. So the real benefit is, if you look at the torque curve, when Pete steps on the gas and hits passing gear at 3,000 RPM, it's already over 400 foot-pounds of torque. It gets better all the way up and carries right to almost 5,000 RPM. We're making over 400 pounds of torque. So that's what he's going to feel driving his truck, and I think it's going to be a nice driving experience for him, and he's going to be happier with the results. So that covers off our question. Can you advance the cam? Should you? How long does it take? So yeah, you can. In this case, probably not worth the trouble, and it took us 25 minutes to do it. I think that's the main questions. I'm sure that I'm going to get more questions and comments on my channel. I got a lot of good feedback on this, on our introductory video to this, and it affected how we did this and the results that we got. And thank you very much for everyone's input. Scott actually predicted we'd make 412 horsepower, and we made 409 horsepower peak, for what it's worth. So, and the maximum torque was 460 what? 466 maximum torque that we made. So overall, pretty happy with the results. 466 is plenty to get the wheels on Pete's Chevrolet square body truck spinning. So thanks for watching Gold's Garage. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Subscribers are really helping us, encouraging us to do more videos and think up better content. And a learning experience. I'm learning from you guys, and hopefully you learn a little bit from me too. Thanks for watching Gold's Garage.
You hang out long enough, maybe I'll get you to build a Dodge.
Hey, there you go. I've never done that before. That would be something. I built a few Fords. I built some Austin Healey's and some 6-cylinders, but I have never built a Dodge. So that would be a great experience. Anything else?
No, I'm good.
Thanks for watching Gold's Garage.